Hello and welcome to Bhand Coder Android programming tutorials. In the last tutorial, we started our first project named as My First Project. In this tutorial, we are going to code our front end for this project. So as I already mentioned earlier, there are two files we get for any activity that we create. One is the front end file known as .xml and one is the backend file with the extension .java. So in this tutorial, we are just gonna focus on our front end. So open up the activity underscore main.xml file. Now this is what you're gonna see on the screen. If you notice here, there are two tabs given to us, design and text. If you switch to design tab, this is what you get. So basically this is called the palette. There are two ways to code our front end. Actually, in one way you don't need to code at all. So in the design tab, you can just drag and drop stuff on your screen. For example, I've got here button, spinner, toggle button, checkbox, etc. I'll just take a button and drop here. So this puts a button on my screen, and then here you get an attributes tab, and inside that attribute tabs you can manipulate the attributes of this button. For example, its width, height, text size, what text it shows, and many more. But in my experience, I like to use and I'll suggest you to use the text tab. The text tab needs you to hard code your code to represent your front end. This uses the XML language. So basically, the text tab gives you more flexibility and more control over what you want. So I like to use that. But if you're comfortable with the design tab, you can go with it, and there's no issues. So in this course, we'll be using the text tab. So I'll just take the button and delete it and switch to text tab. So imagine a big box if you would, and there are several small boxes inside that big box. So there's a given situation when you can't use a small box without putting it inside a bigger box. So this is the case of a front end for an activity. Each and every small box corresponds to the various elements of widgets like buttons, text views, edit text, labels, etc. And the bigger box corresponds to a layout. You cannot put a button by itself on an activity. You need a big layout, you need a bigger box, and inside that bigger box, you can put those elements. So here, Android Studio has given us by default a constraint layout. So the this is a constraint layout, starting tag, closing tag. There are various attributes here. So this is the format, or this is the pattern that we're going to use to code our XML. We're going to start a tag, we're going to close a tag, and we're going to put several attributes in the starting tag to define that element or that layer. At the top, the first line, it's important to note that this uses encoding UTF-8. Right now, it doesn't make any sense, but later on, when you go on in Android programming, the code encoding UTF-8, UTF-16, you gotta take care of that. So just for your information, it uses UTF-8. So as you must have guessed it by now, we're gonna put all our elements between these two pieces of code. Like we're gonna start our layout, we're gonna put some elements, and we're gonna close our layout. So for this project, let's assume we're building that app, and we are gonna have a button on the screen, and when the user taps on that button, a toast pops up saying hello. So what's a toast? A toast is you must have observed in many Android apps, a black box with rounded edges that shows some information. For example, alarm set for 1 hour 20 minutes or so. So we're gonna pop up that toast. So enough talking. Let's get to coding, and we need a button. So we open our tag. We type in button. So Android Studio has this very great functionality. It pops up on a little dialog box whatever options that you could use. So we have button, image button, radio button, etc. These all are called suggestions. So it's very handy, and we need a button, so we just put enter on button. Now we need to define some attributes for button, and the two required attributes are layout width and layout height. So quite logically, layout width and layout height are given to specify the space that our button takes inside the layout. So three things can be done here. Either we can match it to parent, so it's gonna take up the whole lot of width given to it by its parent, that is constraint layout. So it takes up the whole screen. Since the constraint layout is set to match parent, so it takes up the whole screen. Either we can do that, or we can do wrap content. Wrap content makes the button width according to the text that the button holds. That's the second option. And the third option is we can define the width manually using, for example, 200 dp. dp stands for density pixels, so we use 200 dp, so that pops up here. You can see preview of your Android screen. If we use 250 dp, the button elongates. So for now we're going to use match parent. For height, the same three things can be done, so we're going to do wrap content. Now we need some text, so we type in Android text, and for example, let's say click me. Okay, so there are tons of attributes that you can edit here. These all are the list of the attributes. You can browse around, you can see what you like, you can do what you like, but all these are, most of them are not really relevant. So I'll just show you one. Android text size. So again, you can use DP here, but generally we use SP for text sizes to make them constant across all platforms and all devices. Since pixel density can vary across devices, so text size we use 20 SP. So this is our button, and when we click on this button, we need to pop up a toast. So our front end is complete, and in the next tutorial we'll code our back end. Hope you like this tutorial, and we'll see you in the next tutorial. Thank you.